Are you ready to face your fears and tackle a perceived upper limit situation? My guest today was and tackled 5 fears in 5 days.
Welcome to Love Life, featuring your host, Jane Donovan.
The sun shines bright as it moves across my face. I feel the light.
Fear comes in many shapes and sizes. Some fear is real, that terrifying feeling that has us in fear for our safety when we are in danger, and it has us move to either a fight, flight, or freeze mode. But the other fear, that type of fear is the imagined one, and one that so often stops us from going after what we really want in life. I think there's some fabulous acronyms for fear that I love, and a few of my favourites are false emotion appearing as real, face everything and recover, fighting ego against reality, frustration, ego, anxiety, resentment, failure expected and received, finding excuses and reasons. Fear that is unexplainable or not tackled will repeatedly stop us from going after that which we desire. It keeps us in a really nice, comfortable zone. It steals us of our creativity, and it prevents the blossoming of the new. This plays out in life all the time in every area. And yes, of course, I see this play out daily in the dating world. The fear of being rejected, or the fear of being unable to get out of something that isn't working, or the fear of not being good enough, or the fear of what will other people think, or the fear of something new and different. They're just a few of the crippling fears that I come across every single day in my clients. Helping people in the coaching practice to overcome their fears is so often at the base of what their problem is, of getting to where they want to be from where they are now. And recently, I saw on Facebook a friend of mine facing 5 fears and challenges in 5 days as a social experiment to see what she could learn about herself and how her mindset could shift as a result of facing these fears. So I just had to have her on the show. And today, Sange Carter from the Myndshift Academy joins me. 5 fears in 5 days. What led you to doing such a brave thing?
To be honest, it was for my Myndshift Academy course. So the group of teenagers that I was taking through at the time, it just kept coming up, and it was something that so many of them were asking questions about. And I thought, look, what better than to lead by example? So I thought, look, let's create a challenge, and I thought I'd do it by going first, and then you might have any opportunities to do it as well down the track once it was, I guess, tried and tested. And yeah, so that was kind of where it all started, I guess.
So what were the 5 fears that you chose to tackle in those 5 days?
So interesting choice of words. I didn't actually choose them per se. So what happened is I put up a list of 12 to 15 things that really terrify me, not just the little ones that, I could have easily kind of done. And then I put it out to my Facebook audience. I had 24 hours to vote. So on the 5 that they would want me to do. So each person that voted would vote for their top 5. And I had over 100, I think I had about 150 votes. I had to then go and count back to reveal the top 5 fears that I was going to be facing. So that in itself was a really interesting test of how other people perceive fears, but also how some people protect me. Some people thought, oh no, you can't do that. And it was interesting, all of their own stuff that was coming up, even just in them voting for what I would do. It was fascinating.
Actually, that is fascinating because I actually didn't see that post on your Facebook page, but I instantly would have gone in. I'm going to be an enabler. I'm going to go in and choose the 5 that I think are the least scary.
Yeah.
It's incredible, isn't it?
It was a great social human experiment. It was brilliant. Yeah.
Wow, I'm already thinking we've got the gorgeous Love Life Tribe, which is a closed private Facebook group of beautiful souls that are so loving and wise, and people share their vulnerabilities, their challenges they're facing, and there's all this gorgeous love that comes in and wisdom to support them. I'm thinking, do we put the challenge out there? Am I bold enough?
Yeah, you learn so much about yourself and each other by doing it.
Wow.
Everyone's really scared now to tell me the things that they're afraid of because they think I'm going to challenge them to do it.
All right, now before we get into what was the outcome, because I'm sure the gifts would have been plenty, What was the first fear that you had to do? What was the first one?
So the first one that I had to face was actually skydiving.
Oh my God. See, no, I think I'm a required person on this planet. That would terrify me. Wow. And you had a very genuine fear. It wasn't something,
Oh, yeah.
you know, I want to do this and I want to push through it. It was more, so it wasn't a bucket list. It was a fear.
No, definitely wasn't on my bucket list, that's for sure. No, I'd never done any skydiving. I'd never done bungee jumping. And even when I had opportunities, you know, over the years to do that for free, I'd always sort of said, no, I like extreme things, but that's not my thing. I was always like, I go whitewater rafting. But the heights thing, whilst it fascinated me for other people.
Right. So what was that moment like when you're on the plane and they're going, step off of it?
Well, I mean, I fly a lot, and as do you. And you normally, if a plane door opens when you're in a plane, it's like the worst case scenario. So then when the door opens and all the air comes rushing in, you're like, this is, every bit of instinct goes, what the hell is going on? And you're like, go. You're just like, but it's in my mind, I'm going, this is normal, this is normal, this is normal. Until the first person goes out, and for some reason, I thought they would just go out and just kind of float away. But
yes.
Because of the speed of the plane, they go out and they just whip to the side, and you're just like, oh. I'm like, I wasn't prepared for that.
Oh my goodness. So I'm assuming this is done in tandem. You've got you're strapped to his front.
Correct. Yes. They don't let you just jump by yourself first one up. So you do have to do, and which I think for me was good because I knew that there was a safety there. Like I knew that they were trained. He'd done well over 200 jumps. You know, he knew the area really well. So I think I made sure I had a lot of surety with
right.
that.
Safety assurity. Yes.
Yeah.
Was there a point in the what is it, descent, as you're free falling? At some point, did you lose a fear and kick into exhilaration?
100%. And it was probably quicker than what I would have anticipated if you had have got me to talk about it beforehand. And it was really maybe only the first second of free fall. And then the person that's strapped to you, actually then you start to feel this ability of control in the air, even before they pop the parachute. And I was doing over the beautiful Byron Bay in northern New South Wales. And once the chute opened, you get that little rush where you sort of back up a bit. And then it's just like the most amazing experience. It's just blissful. It's so quiet when you're that high up in the air, and view of the coastline and back into the Byron Bay hinterland was just amazing. And I kind of thought, wow, like this is how I want to see every new place in the world. Like it was just, and then it was over so quick, but it was just, it's a moment of almost bliss, which is really wasn't what I expected.
Wow. So are you going to do it again?
I would do it again. Yeah.
That's fantastic. All right, so what was the take-home from the first fear? Did something shift in you, change after the first tick, I've faced that fear, after that first accomplishment? Was there some shift, or did it take progressive days for you to really start to shift in your mindset?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest one, it definitely was a shift from the skydive. And the thing was that it's all the voices that are telling me the stories in between the deciding to do it and the actual jumping that was actually the most fearful. The actual act of doing the skydive, there was no fear whatsoever because you were just in action. So almost when you were thinking about things and your brain is allowed to wander into all of the what if scenarios, that's actually the scariest part. The action of jumping wasn't actually scary at all because I was strapped to someone else. We jumped out of the plane. We just nussed up to the edge of the plane and we jumped. There was no thought. You were just in the moment. So I think for me is when you're in the moment or in action, that's what fear doesn't exist. But it's in the about doing something where the fear can really manifest. So I think the longer that you can think about, and the longer I thought about that, and it was delayed a couple of days. So the thinking became worse, right? So of course I'd built myself up the night before. That morning I'm ready to do it, and then they called me like, oh, the weather's not good enough, we're going to have to delay for a day. So I was like, geez. So then so that really was the lesson in that for me was it's in the thought of it, in the thought.
Right. So controlling your minds, controlling your thought process.
Correct.
So what was day 2? What did that bring? Or your second? Because I know we actually had to do them 5 consecutive days, wasn't it?
Correct, yeah. So it was 5 years in 5 days, no break, no rest time. Which was always interesting. But number 2 took me up to the Sunshine Coast to the Australian Reptile Park, and I got to get all nice and friendly with a couple of pythons. So it was
Okay, now see I've done that. That doesn't scare me because I have this thing with animals. I like to kind of believe I'm a bit of an animal whisperer, so that doesn't bother me too much. But I can appreciate that is really creepy and scary for many people.
yes. So all of them, that was probably my one that I was probably least, even though it was scary, I wasn't as scared of that one as I was of all the others. So that was probably my one where I'm like, right, I think I can do this.
Okay, so it was like hold it, have it wrapped around you, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're quite beautiful to feel, aren't they? Like their
amazing.
body is amazing.
Just really quite soft. And I thought the scales would be hard and prickly, and it was a fairly warm day, but I was warmer than anything else around. So the snake pretty much just curled up on me and was quite happy to almost have a little nap. And it was, once you felt the weight, it was really good. And again, the instructor was fantastic, and she just went through, I think for me for this one, it was just being informed or educated. So the thing that she went through to start with is the snake will always mirror your state of being. So if you're panicky and anxious, it will be panicky and anxious. If you're calm, it will be calm. So I thought, okay, well, this can't be too hard. I've just got to be calm. So
Make it till you make it.
that's it. Until I realised, well, it was actually, again, quite easy, and they were just quite happy to be laying on my arms and wrapped around my body. And it was all pretty peaceful until I had a fly land on my hand. And I had the snake hit about here, and the flies land on my hand. I'm like, in my mind, breathing really calmly, but in my mind going, what do I do? Is the snake going to try and jump at the fly? Do I try and swish it off? Do I leave it? So I was like, all these little things running around in my mind, and I'm like, my head's getting close to this fly. I'm like, oh God.
Did it go for it? Did it try to eat it?
No, in the end, it just turned away. It wasn't even interested. So I was like, oh. So the heart rate I really should have worn a heart rate monitor for a lot of these, Jane. But
yes, that would have been interesting.
It's at a tick, tick, and it went back down. So yeah, and then they brought out a bigger one, and yeah, it was quite good to get friendly with the pythons.
Well, anyone that hasn't held a snake, they are magnificent creatures. You can feel all their muscles, and they're heavier than you think, and their touch is, I don't know, I guess it's like those horrible snakes in bags that we really probably shouldn't ever touch. But it is amazing to feel their muscles when they are moving, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You can feel that they are, like the power that they do have if they needed to use it, that they could, wrap around something so quickly and clench on really tightly. But at the same time, they're in such control, and they're happy just to be able to have weight of their body taken and be very docile, I guess.
Okay, what did day 3 bring?
So day 3 was the toughest.
Okay.
This is the one that has been probably, I'd say, childhood fear from when I was, must have been about 5 or 6 years old, when I went to sit at the dinner table and something was sort of in my shorts, and I was sitting there, your parents are like, just sit down and eat your dinner, you can't get up. And anyway, I get up, and I found a huntsman like in my shorts. So day 3 was conquering the huntsman. And Jane, I'm sure you've got many of your listeners as well, and those that, are happy to be around spiders, and you've got those that maybe they need someone else just to catch the spider if they find one in their house. And then they've got the third where you pretty much evacuate your house if there's one in it. And I was probably in that category, number 3.
Right. I'm in between 1 and 2. I'm number 2 where, I'm number 1 where I will catch it and take it outside to the garden, and I try and do all my voodoo of, my woohoo of, let's talk to it, you're going to be so much happier outside than inside, blah, blah. But if it's really looks like it's dangerous or it's very aggressive, then my vows, husband, where I promise to love, honour, obey, and take the spiders outside.
Brilliant.
However, I can fall into category, and I remember when I was pregnant with my first child, and no, I wasn't pregnant. No, I'd had her. She was a little baby, newborn baby, and I saw this spider coming across the carpet towards where she was, and in that moment, it was very territorial, and it was primal, and it was, I'm sorry, you've got to go, and the fly spray. And I think I doused half a can of fly spray on the poor thing. And I actually don't kill any creatures. I walk around ants, and it is just my thing, so I don't do that. But as I sprayed this spider, hundreds of little babies ran off. It was a mum. Well, that had me hysterically in tears. You know, I'm hormonal, breastfeeding, just given birth. I'm on the phone to my husband sobbing, I've just murdered all these bees, you know. So that was my spider story. But
Wow.
so I think that people can be different things depending on the scene that you're in. So you have a real terror of spiders because you've had one in your pants.
Yep. And I had a little family move into my apartment. Would have been around Christmas time. I'd left a baseball cap just in the corner and they'd found their way in there. And so when I thought I had one in the house, I ended up having, similar to you, 2 or 3 of them in my small little 1-bedroom apartment. I actually moved out for 3 days until one of my friends could come over and eradicate them.
Oh, so what did you have to do on day 3 with the spiders? How did you conquer this?
Yes, this is an interesting one. It was actually the toughest to organise, to try and get a spider that can be held, you know, by someone who's fearful of them, was really challenging. So that was actually almost more challenging organising it all. And I had to go onto a few reptile Facebook groups and things to try and even source, which was terrifying because you scroll through your Facebook feed and then all of a sudden these spiders and things are trying to Facebook. Even that was just like, oh my God. So
Confronting.
But lucky enough that the research staff at Griffith University had a spider there that they were able to lend me, I guess, for the day. So I went in and saw the staff there, and they had this beautiful 1-year-old huntsman, and well, they called it beautiful. I had a few other words to start with. So I went to the research lab there, and my thoughts are, it's a research spider. It'll be tame. It'll be, you know, because it's for research. And anyway, my first thing, I get into Griffith University, and my friend who was meeting me there with I thought the so-called spider expert proceeded to tell me that the spider expert was called in sick that day. So we still have the spider to do the challenge, but we won't have the spider expert there. And she was afraid of spiders too. So I'm like, right, so there's me who's terrified, her that's afraid, and the spider expert that's not there. And a box that's probably the size of a shoebox, a clear shoebox, I guess you would say, with a fixed top on it in the room. So there's me, my friend who's scared of spiders, no spider expert, and it's clear sitting on this little table inside a tiny little lecture room, I guess it would be. The amount of stories I made up in my head to just hightail it out of there and to just say, no, this, I just can't do it, was right up there. My heart rate, again, it would have been, I don't think I've had it that high in a long time, even in a stationary position. So for me, it was, my breath was shortened. I was clammy in my hands. I've got a whole full view of this too, Jane. You could see I was just very agitated and very alert, like just on high alert, even in the body.
Read that fight or flight mode. You were full blown in it.
Yep, 100%.
Wow.
So then they've got the spider there, and like they had to make sure that I was okay with doing it. And like, well, of course I have to do it. I knew it was one of those moments where if I didn't step forward into it, I probably never would have ever gone close to that again. So I was in that reasoning going, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it.
That's bold. That is really bold. It's also, that's really insightful clarity to have in that moment. It is now or never. And so what did you have to do? Put your hand in this container?
Well, yeah. So obviously without the spider expert there, we're like, well, we need to get the spider onto my hand. Because the challenge was that I had to hold a spider. So in my mind, or the stories that I've made up, the spider was going to be on my hand, I was going to hold it, and I was going to put it. That's what I thought was going to happen.
But the reality is this spider could go running anywhere. It could bite you. It could attack you. Or
That's correct. Which I don't know why I did that before doing it. But anyway, so the spider expert had done a little recording and sort of told us what I needed to be aware of. And quite similar to the snake, he was like, it will mirror your reaction. So if you freak out and, you know, be really erratic, then that's when it will jump. Otherwise, if you're really calm, it will be really calm. So I'm like, right, okay. I need to be calm, I need to be calm. So going through that rationalising, I think, again there. And the other thing that my friend said is, look, it's a spider, so if you throw it, it will die. And I'm like, oh, God, now I've got this thing that I could kill this spider, that's this guy's pet research spider. So then that's thrown in here as well. And just before I was about to reach in and try and figure out how we're going to get this spider onto my hand, I was like, oh, her name's Daisy. And it was almost in that as soon as she named the spider, there was just something different. I don't know, it went from being this spider to being okay, it's just me and Daisy and we're going to do this thing. And it sounds so ridiculous, but...
No, but that's interesting, isn't it?
It just gave it some sort of softness in its personality or something, I'm not sure, but it allowed me to remove from the fact it was this scary big spider to it's Daisy, it's the research spider, and we're going to just do this thing now.
That's an interesting concept because when people are, now I don't know, I'm no expert on this, but I have heard that when people are faced in a situation of potential hostility, to actually create a connection with the person that's being hostile to you actually often stops the perpetrator from being a perpetrator. So it's some sort of connective, energetic connection that does soften, absorbs the energy.
Yeah, so I think that probably took my heart rate from maybe 220 down to 210. So that was, and that's in the moment.
Good start.
Let's do this. So, and it was quite interesting too that, like, you know, again, that education piece that spiders, all they want to do is crawl and they'll up. So as long as you have your arms outstretched, then it will just crawl up your arm. So my first thought was like, okay, I can do that. Then I'll get to my armpit. You know, I'm wearing a T-shirt at the time.
Yeah, when I have it on the face, that's not going to be moving down my top.
No. And she's like, as long as you put your other hand over, then it will just crawl onto that hand, and then it will crawl up. And so it was almost like I was doing the Macarena, and the spider was just making its way up. And the front little, legs or little feelers, although it looks like when they're up, they're quite hostile, that's just them looking for the next piece of bark or wood or anything to walk onto. So they're just sensors or feelers rather than hostile antenna type things. So again, that helped me to realise, well, when that's happening, I know what they're looking for. I can just put my hand there. So in the end, we got the spider out and it was walking up down my arm for probably about 3 minutes. So just walking
That's
up.
a long time.
Yep, and sitting down. And I wanted to do it until I could get my heart rate under control. Once I got it on, like, now I want to be able to be comfortable enough in this situation that I could take my eyes off it and I could be in caution and have that complete trust. So
I'm so impressed that you're actually taking this experiment to an extra level. That's impressive. You know, one of the things I've observed already about these 3 stories, and I know we've got 2 more to go, is that in all of this there appears to be, and I think we all do this, inaccurate assumptions made from lack of education.
100%.
So our fears, whatever they are in life, perhaps this is the time to bring them out, put the spotlight on them, and become educated about that fear to reduce it or even eliminate it potentially.
Yeah, because I think for me, when I found that I was more educated on something, the stories that I would create in my mind unconsciously became less, or the impact, it just wasn't as much. That, you know, you don't go off into these far-fetched stories because you have some facts that stop that. Whereas before that, it's like fairy tales, and you just wanders into the abyss of what potentially could happen because you aren't informed.
The what if game is really dangerous, isn't it?
Absolutely. It can be incredibly exciting, but when you look at your fears, yeah, it can be really damaging. And as I've found, even just with these 3, almost debilitating. And as I said, like, I'd had opportunities to skydive before in my life and without paying $1 at all, and I didn't take them up because of the fear that was there. So yeah, now knowing these things, it definitely opened up scope for other things for sure.
What was day 4 bringing you?
Okay, so day 4, and this was it wasn't a fear for me, but it was something that was challenging for sure. So my hair used to be down almost to my bum.
When I saw you in Perth, you had lovely long hair, and now you've got lovely short hair.
Yes, I had the long blonde mane, which had taken a few years to grow, and it was blonde and free. And yes, the challenge was that I had cut my hair short and donate that to charity to help someone, obviously, to make a wig for cancer patients to be able to have some hair. So for me, that was interesting because I wasn't fearful of cutting my hair short, but what that manifest as was my identity and how much identity I had attached to my long hair. And it was the planning of it, I was like, I didn't realise I had such an attachment to this identity of this long blonde hair until I was like, I'm cutting it off.
I understand that totally. I think that we have attachment to a lot of physical things. You know, it can be people going out in public with on, or it can be, what if I'm seen in my tracksuit? Well, not in your sporting world, everyone's in tracksuits, but I'm talking about middle-aged mother in the burbs that's in the daggy trackie, not the fitness leisure gear. We do have absolute attachment to identity through these things, and it's fascinating to put the spotlight on and see what is it we do care about and why do we care about it, Is it a belief, and can it be reframed to be freer from?
And that's why I knew I had to do it, because I had this attachment and I'm like, what might this be holding me back from? I tend to take risks and I'm a pretty outgoing type of person. So for me, this is one that a lot of people chose not to vote for and commented on it. We don't want you to lose your beautiful long blonde hair. It will take so long to grow back. And for me, it was like, well, yeah, but it can still grow back. If it's something that it's not a absolute, let's go with short hair and let's feel that. And I mean, I've had my hair cut short before. It was back when I was 16 and it was done by dad, and it was pretty terrible. I had some pretty traumatic moments as a 16-year-old girl, that's for sure. At times, we've all had that bad haircut, and yep, I definitely experienced that one. So the fear probably came from that moment and, recreating that. No, I had a great friend down at the yard here in Miami, and she did a great job, and they were all just fantastic. Like, this is such a great cause. I love what you're doing. And they all got on board with about their fears and things to face. So really I opened up a really good conversation about what might have been holding them back as well. So that was very eye-opening, I guess.
Were you allowed to watch the haircut happening in process, or did you have your back to a mirror and then turn around and go, there I am?
No, I've actually watched the process. So they tied it all up and they each came in and chopped off one of the ponytails and styled it up. Obviously, I didn't see the back of it right at the end, but yeah, it was great. It just felt light and actually almost freeing, which was bizarre. Yeah.
Interesting. So I wonder if the long hair is an attachment to the inner child girl, the young girl, and maybe now you've moved from maiden into motherhood. Not motherhood as in being a mum, but motherhood as in moving into a greater sense of maturity.
Yeah, definitely.
Who knows? But you look amazing.
Definitely a shift. Thank you. Everyone says I look younger, which I fantastic, or, and I think it's just different, it just shapes my face differently. And again, it's something that a lot of people would never do. So they go, oh, it's brave, and it just gives a different energy and connection there, I think, as well.
Absolutely. Okay, day 5. What was the final fear to face?
Day 5, and it didn't surprise me that this one actually got voted in as number 1, because I think it's one of the most common fears I know from statistics is public speaking. So obviously with myself, I've done a lot of speaking. So, getting up on stage and speaking about a topic that I'm, informed about doesn't scare me. But doing stand-up comedy was a whole nother thing.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. That's gold.
So, yes, one of my lovely friends, Peter, nominated me to do stand-up comedy at a uni bar on a Friday night.
Oh, my God, tough audience.
Oh, yeah.
How would you even prepare for that? I'm trying to think, I know that a couple of nights that we spent together in Perth, we laughed a lot. But I'm trying to think, are you funny? Do you tell jokes? I don't know.
Jane,
Did you do it?
I find I'm always laughing, but I'm one of those people that knows one joke, and I always listen to other people tell jokes like, that's great, I'm going to remember it. And I never do. I've got one joke that I remember from when I was maybe like 8 years old, and I just don't have this ability to remember jokes, which really didn't serve me very well in this challenge whatsoever.
So how did you prepare for it?
So I actually based it a little bit off the 5 Fears Challenge and used this as a little bit of my material, what had happened the first couple of days, which definitely helped. I had 8 friends that came down to support. We'll use that term really loosely, to support.
There are, in inverted comments, to heckle from the audience.
To heckle, so at least there was someone there, and then just the general public that were there at the university, and they'd create a little stage and had the mic, and at least in the challenge there wasn't a time duration or the amount of claps that I was getting. I just had to get up there and do it, and it was really, really interesting how fear manifested in this one. The morning of it was a Friday night. That morning I was exhausted. I didn't want to do preparation. I felt lethargic. I felt fatigued. I'm like, I'm getting sick. I can't do this. And then I had people cancel that couldn't make it. So I'm like, they really want them to be part of it. Maybe I should postpone it. So it was the energy around it. My fear was manifesting as fatigue and delaying. And even that evening when it was meant to start at 6 o'clock, and again, we had a couple of girls who I was coaching for beach volleyball that were coming along to support. I'm like, we have to wait for them. And it got to this point where I was almost like, if I don't do it right now, the thing was, there's not going to be a right time. There's not going to be this perfect time where I feel empowered and I feel funny and I feel like the crowd's just like total control. It just wasn't going to happen. I just had to get up there and fulfill the challenge that I'd set for myself. And the fact that I was accountable to so many people really helped. I had to ensure that I had accountability from people who were donating money to the cause, but also that were coming on support. So if I didn't get up there and do it, doesn't matter how terrible it was, I would have been letting them down in that sense. So accountability was a huge strategy for this one.
Yes. It's interesting when you talk about your physical symptoms. Now, the day following, so we're on day 6, the 5 fears are done. Did you wake up with any of those symptoms that you'd had the day before?
No, I was fine. I felt energized. I felt alive. I was just like, wow, like I just felt so accomplished in what I'd done. That's why I knew, and only then did I know that the signs from the day before were all just fear manifesting. It wasn't actually that I was sick. I wasn't really tired. It was just a strategy where fear was creeping in and just showing up as fatigue, which I'd never had before. That was a real eye-opener for me.
I find it fascinating that the body and subconscious mind, which of course controls much of who we are and how we behave and feel, will manifest dis-ease within the body to protect from going into danger.
Absolutely.
And that is exactly what's happened to you, was that, no, you can't get up on stage. You're going to make a fool of yourself. Everyone's going to laugh at you. You're going to hate yourself for this, blah, 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 blah. Let's get you out of this. This is not a good environment to be in. Let's make you sick. Then it's not your fault. You don't have to do it.
It's because it's socially acceptable to be sick, isn't it? So everyone's sick at times.
That's right.
Yeah.
I watch this happen with athletes, with dancers, with injuries. And it's when they are not in the joy and the fear is kicking in, suddenly the injury is there.
100%.
And it's fascinating to watch. So much to say. Now, I also love where you mentioned there is no right time. And I think so often in life we wait for the perfect time, whether it's the perfect time to get married, to have a baby, to buy a house, to change jobs, to do anything, to travel, whatever. It doesn't matter. We keep waiting for our ducks to all be in alignment. And that just doesn't happen, does it?
No, not at all.
But I feel that once we've committed to something, and that does require accountability to help us to do that, once the commitment is made, suddenly everything is perfect. It is the perfect time.
Yeah.
Everything falls in. It's like when you buy a house and you're not sure if it's going to be the perfect one, but once you buy it, it becomes the perfect one. And we then change our focus. Our mindset will then change to support the decision that has been made. So once we make a big decision, we start to gather evidence to support that was the right decision to make. And I find quite fascinating as well.
Yeah, we can always make it work in our favour. Absolutely.
What was the overall big experience? How can you summarise what the take-home was from 5 incredibly big days? Yeah,
that's a brilliant question. And for me, it was, you mentioned it before, I definitely didn't have my ducks in a row. I was more squirrels in a tree. Things were all over the place. So, and I guess probably the biggest takeaway, life is like squirrels in a tree. They're chasing all over the place, all trying to be pulled in different directions, chasing different things. And there is no right time. That was my biggest takeaway, was you really just have to, I guess, no, that's a lie. There is a right time, and it's now. It's only ever now. So that's the only right time, is now. And in order to help that you choose that now, it's the things, accountability, huge. Don't worry about the stories, just take action and do it now. So they're my 3 things, and I think they just can be applied in so many different scenarios that, and as you said, once you have 3 things, everything starts to work in your favour. And then all of a sudden it makes such sense that was the right choice.
Beautiful. Now, you mentioned that there was a charity involved, so you raised money while doing this 5 days for 5 fears.
So I was helping support our under-21 national beach volleyball girls. So Caitlin Betnay and Sabine Mills were going over to compete World Championships, and I was coaching for over there. And so we raised, I think the girls raised a little bit over $4,000. And as part of that was donations through their 5-year challenge. And it was, one, great to be able to help them, able to cover some of their costs and such a big trip to the World Championships, but also it created such a connection and trust from a coach to athlete relationship as well. So they felt that I was so invested in their journey even before I got to play volleyball as well. So that was a really cool experiment. And on the flip side, the whole run up to their World Championships is about taking risks and playing bold. And so they were given permission to take risks and be bold in their preparation, in the way they played, in the way they travelled, because being lead by example. So they saw that and allowed them some freedom, I think, to be able to really explore that themselves.
Now, I wonder if you could share a bit about this amazing work that with teenage children.
Absolutely. We call it our Myndshift Academy, and where all this 5 fears in 5 days was born, I guess.
So the Mindset Academy, can you tell me what are you doing there? Who are you working with? What's the idea of the program?
Yeah, so the Myndshift Academy really originated around about 12 months ago when I was doing some work with the Young Leaders program from Melbourne University. And I was going down and running workshops, but what we were finding was I was spending 1 or 2 days with these teenagers, 17, 18-year-olds, and the biggest lesson that came out of that is they had nowhere to go afterwards. They wanted to keep working with me because we've made some great breakthroughs, but they now felt like they were just being left. So they got to this edge, and then it was just this big drop and there was nothing there. So that sort of led for me to create the Myndshift Academy, and which is a purely online based moment. So we have students from 5 different countries at the moment going through our Myndshift program throughout Australia and obviously Southeast Asia as well. So we already have that global community, which is one of the other core values that we have, and what we're trying to promote is connection to other cultures and being able to connect teenagers with other like-minded and like. So often, as you know, teenagers, they go to a certain school, they have maybe 100 kids in their classes that they have to pick from to be their friends, and often those that, you know, might have a different passion or a different pursuit, or maybe they are the higher achievers and they feel like they just don't quite fit in. In the Myndshift Academy, they had that connection to other people and other kids that are thinking the same, feeling the same. So it gives them permission, I guess, to keep excelling in those areas and not just fall down to the majority just to fit in. So it's a ability, I guess, to be a little bit permission as well to go and play those big games.
Beautiful. Who are your clients? Is this open to anybody, or is this something that's a selection process?
I always do a sort of intake survey with the students that are interested, just to make sure that, one, we're the right fit for them, but also they're the right fit for us, because, you know, everyone's got different ways they learn, different things they want to break through. So we always give them the opportunity to do that with our little intake survey. And generally I jump on and do just like, you know, we can use our Skype to have a conversation with anyone in the world. Same thing. So we'll just jump on that platform and give them an opportunity to see how our units are run, how interaction is with other students on the screen, and also give them the opportunity to go, yeah, okay, I really love this, like the vibe, I want to jump in, or okay, maybe it's not for me, and that's okay too. And we offer a 100-day money-back guarantee. So if they're, you know, doesn't, even a couple of weeks into the course, not feeling it, we just say, look, it's not for you, that's totally okay, and make sure that everyone's happy.
Fantastic. The integrity. So the idea is to help teenagers to be the best version of themselves by looking at their mindset.
And it's really helping bridge the gap from the classroom into adult life, I guess. And as an ex-teacher myself, I know that there's so much to cover in those 45 minutes you get with each class each day, and often these are the skills that are left out. So it's really helping the education system that's already there, rather than replacing it, but giving them some skills and some what we call mind hacks that they can use every day to help them sort of, whether it's getting through, making decisions, facing fears, having to create their own value system so that they can be self-guided, and then also thinking about, you know, what does the future look like for them, and then helping support them through that. In that, you know, 16 to 18 years old, it's challenging time being a teenager anyway, let alone thinking about maybe the course they have to choose, you know, the work they might want to do, and with all these external pressures. So we really help them strategize through that as well.
Beautiful. And the website address?
Yep, myndshiftakademy.com, and that's MYNDSHIFT academy.com.
Thank you so much, Sange, for doing this. This is an amazing story of such boldness. I can only imagine that you needed a glass of champagne at the end of those 5 days.
I did.
Or the espresso martini. What was it?
Espresso martini cocktails that we enjoyed on the beautiful Scarborough Beach, yes.
Any final words that you'd like to share with people about their fears and giving it a go?
Yeah, probably the biggest thing is just, if there's something that you do fear, just become educated, step into that space and move towards it, not away from it. And you'll feel so liberated by even just getting educated and moving towards your fear. You may not even have to do it, but you're going to feel just in a much more empowered place, and it'll be really interesting, and you'll be so surprised where else that starts to show up in your life. So do something that scares you today.
The big take